What's up, guys and gals? Red Icing finally back. Before we start, I'd like to announce that Miranda Goldstein has won the Persona 5 hard copy and t-shirt giveaway. Miranda, you have a week to reply, or the prize will go to the runner-up, Leo. Hopefully I get a reply back from one of you. But now back to concerns, which I have left alone for too dang long. After watching all the trailers and looking up some info on message boards, most of my concerns started to melt away. However, some remain, and even though I want to dismiss some of them, I feel I just can't. Before we get into the concerns, I must say the usual disclaimers. I am in no way an expert, just a fan and a researcher. I may make a mistake, so if you see one, please leave a comment so I can correct it in the annotations. Make sure to look at the video's date, as new info may make some of the topics irrelevant. Lastly, do not take any of this as concrete info, as they are simply concerns. With the disclaimer said, let's talk about some potential issues. The first issue I want to discuss is the speed of combat during gameplay. The previous games were mostly cover-based shooting, and this new rendition is more centered around open area combat, and it has the choice of using cover inside of it. This has me concerned due to the speed of combat being drastically accelerated, and it seems like a similar mixture to the type of combat from games like Just Cause, Skyrim, Destiny, Mercenaries, etc. Now, while this may not be a bad thing at first glance, but having played those aforementioned similar games, I know that those combat systems can become extremely repetitive and boring at about 20 hours if the level of challenge doesn't make it interesting. Now, you might think that's not all a bad thing, but when you move into the new open skills and profile system, it can take on a new issue. This time, it's not the game that has the issue, it's actually the player. While having an open skill system not restricted by a class, if you remember back in the previous Mass Effect games, there was restrictions depending on what class you played, such as Adept and Soldier. These restrictions back in those older games potentially forced the player into a different role if they chose it at the beginning. It added a minor twist when replaying the game, which in all honesty encouraged replaying the game. However, having this open style skill system leads to a problem that I call the Skyrim replay effect. The Skyrim replay effect is when a player replays a game like Skyrim intending to take on a different role than their first playthrough, but eventually they go back to the class of character they used in that first playthrough. It's just regressing to the former role. For instance, in Skyrim, if you chose to be a warrior in your first playthrough and then a mage in the second playthrough, there is a good chance of you returning to the warrior class, as the difference in abilities and combat speed could cause you to regress to the old role. I don't know how many times I intended to play a mage character in Skyrim, but I always went back to thief or warrior just because it was more fun for me. By instituting this open profile system, which allows you to increase the effectiveness of different types of skills, it makes it potentially worse, as a regression is a simple button click away. Unless there are profile-specific objectives throughout Mass Effect Andromeda, the gameplay and replay value can suffer, and the likelihood of cheesing through the game increases. Hopefully I am wrong about this. Now for the biggest concern I have for Mass Effect Andromeda, the multiplayer. Now I will play some of the multiplayer when it comes out, and most likely I will actually like it. But an overwhelming portion of the Mass Effect community and fanbase likes the games for its story and plot. This may just be an irrational fear, but a multiplayer aspect in a story-based game usually is a burden on the story. It takes development time away from the story, developers can place more of an emphasis on multiplayer, which shortens the main plot, and frankly, it can slow or take away the process of added story missions through DLC. And yes, I am still mad that GTA 5 didn't add any story DLC. Instead, they just put everything into multiplayer because they were making so much bank. And that's what all these companies really want, is money. So, by adding this multiplayer, it has the potential to cause an imbalance to the whole product. Hopefully, it doesn't, because my biggest fear for Andromeda is to become a third-person version of Destiny. I wanted to add the concern of story pathing to this video, but it would take too much time, so I'll save that subject for another day. even though I am almost positive that Andromeda will ultimately be linear with return pathing to a central route, at least in the bigger picture. But I'm okay with that for now. No, I'm not. I also wanted to address the resource gathering within this game potentially becoming a bigger pain than the Mass Effect 2 version, or too similar to No Man's Sky's version. But that is something I cannot confirm right now, so I'll have to leave it, even though I'm pretty sure whatever they do with it, it's still going to be a pain. Well, that's it for this video. As always, if you see a mistake of mine, please point it out in the comments and I'll put a correction in the annotations. If you have any concerns, theories, and disagreements of your own, leave a comment down below, and if you want me to reply to it, start off the comment with "read" and I'll try to get back to you. Also, I would like to apologize for my absence. Bills started piling up and I had to take on a second job to make ends meet. I want to post more, but I don't have enough time for research and editing anymore. Thanks for watching this, and hopefully I'll have another video up soon. Again, I cannot think of a closer, so
goodbye.